What's up, world? We're back, and it's the I Don't Know Ish About Sports show, and I'm your host, JP Prince, and it's week 2. And before we get into my week 2 picks, let us go back and check out week 1. With week 1 being the hardest week to pick and not many teams playing their key players in the preseason, I finished the week 9-7. And I hope I made you some money like I did, and I know what you're thinking, not my best week. But let's get into my week 2 picks. And I'm already off to a losing start this week because I had the New York Giants beating the Washington football team in the Thursday night game of the week. But the Giants found a way to blow the game and cost me a little money with the offsides call that allowed the Washington football team to re-kick after missing the game winner to win the game. But it's a game of inches, and a few inches cost the Giants a much-needed win in week 2. Now to start off week 2, weekend picks. We start with my team, the New England Patriots, taking on the New York Jets. And the Patriots open as a 6-point favorite and are led by Mac Jones. And I thought Mac Jones played good week 1 with 281 passing yards. But I think Josh McDaniels has to open the playbook a little more and take some more shots downfield and not all the dinking and dunking. But if Damian Harris doesn't fumble in the red zone with the game on the line after a wonderful day with 100 yards, the Patriots are 1-0, and we're having a different conversation. But the Patriots wideouts and tight ends have to make plays to help Mac Jones in his progression as a quarterback, and the defense was good but not great last week. But moving on to the Jets and Zach Wilson, who showed flashes week 1 and threw for over 250 yards, but didn't get much help in the run game, which finished under 50 yards for the game. And the passing game was good, but not a lot of big plays, and only 14 points last week. And I don't think this week will be much different, as I see this as a must-win for the Patriots, and its well-balanced offense being the difference. And I had the Patriots winning this game 24-17. Now moving on, we have the Chicago Bears versus the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Bears open as 2.5-point favorites. And what can I say about the Chicago Bears besides start Justin Fields? And as long as they're starting Andy Dalton, it's hard to take them serious as a football team trying to win games. I don't know shit about football, but I feel like a blind man can see Andy Dalton is not the answer and gives you nothing but basic vanilla football. And if the player's not perfect, he does nothing for you. But a bright spot for the Bears was their running game, with David Montgomery having over 100 yards last week. But after 38 passes, averaging almost 5.5 yards a throw, no Bears receiver had over 45 yards, with speedster Marquise Goodwin leading the team. And the Bears defense struggled last week, with Khalil Mack being invisible and giving up 34 points in the loss. And it gets no easier with Joe Burrow coming to town looking like he has taken a step forward in year 2. And after a wonderful game 1 for the Bengals all around in the air and on the ground, with the homegrown draft talent producing, with Burrow, Joe Mixon, and Jamar Chase leading the way offensively, and as long as the Bengals are committed to the run game and will run the ball with Joe Mixon over 20 times a game, I'm on the Bengals bandwagon. And because the passing game has been efficient, and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins came through week 1, and I expect them to again, I had the Bengals winning this one 24-17. On to the next, we have the Cleveland Browns versus the Houston Texans, and the Browns come in as big favorites at 12.5 points. And I know the Texans played well week 1 and looked like a great offense against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I don't think they have enough talent to match the Browns, and they're taking a huge step up in offensive and defensive firepower with the Browns, despite being 0-1. But I think the Browns control the ball with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt having big games, and the defense will control Tyrod Taylor and Brandon Cooks and not allow them to make big plays over the top. I got the Browns winning this one 31-20. Next on the schedule, we have the Los Angeles Rams against the Indianapolis Colts, and the Rams come in as 3.5-point favorites, and the Rams had a great week 1 with the debut of Matthew Stafford, and for me, this just comes down to not trusting Carson Wentz and the Indianapolis Colts offensive line to block the Rams and Aaron Donald after giving up 3 sacks last week. And with Jalen Ramsey taking away one side of the field, I see this game being tough for the Colts to score points. And I know the Colts plan to run the ball a lot, but it's when they do pass, problems will happen, and turnovers are going to happen with Carson Wentz. So I'll take the Rams in this one, 30-24. Next, we have the Miami Dolphins going against the Buffalo Bills, and the Buffalo Bills come in as 3.5-point favorites and are another team that should be 1-0, but are 0-1 after they gave away the game last week with bad play calling after asking Josh Allen to throw the ball 50-plus times, with the run game working so well and averaging almost 5.5 yards a carry. So as long as the Bills run the ball and are more efficient, they should win against the Dolphins, who struggled last week to score points. But the defense made plays, and I expect them to make some this week if the Bills decide to throw the ball 50 times again. No telling what could happen, but I'm taking the Bills in this one in a close game, 21-20. Next, we have a great game in the Philadelphia Eagles versus the San Francisco 49ers, and the 49ers come in as 3-point favorites. And I know the Eagles played lights out last week, and I'm still mad at myself for picking the Falcons, but Jalen Hurts played great. I think he will play great again this week against a 49ers defense that struggled against the Lions. The 49ers offense, on the other hand, played great and put on a show last week and will continue to play great with the creative play calling of Kyle Shanahan that will always put up points, and Jimmy G and Deebo Samuel had it rolling last week, and the run game was on point and played great last week for the 49ers. And as much as I want to go with Vegas and the 49ers, I'm going with my gut and picking the Philadelphia Eagles to upset the 49ers at home 31-28. I think Jalen Hurts being able to run will be the difference, with the run-pass option game being the difference for the Eagles at the end of the day. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Las Vegas Raiders. And with both teams undefeated and both coming up off upsets, and I picked against both last week, and after watching both teams play, I came away more impressed with the Steelers and what they were able to do than the Raiders last week. And I think the Steelers' pass defense can control Derek Carr and his favorite target, Darren Waller, and Big Ben will make enough plays in the passing game, but it's the defense of the Steelers that will win them the game and get the job done and start the season 2-0 with a score of 27-20, Pittsburgh. For the next game in Week 2, we have the Carolina Panthers, Sam Darnold and Christian McCaffrey against the New Orleans Saints. And I don't think a team had a more impressive Week 1 than the New Orleans Saints. And it looks like after Week 1, Sean Payton found his QB of the future in Jameis Winston, who looked great and took advantage of every opportunity the defense gave him. And Sean Payton called a great game offensively, and the Saints looked even more impressive, you would have to say, with what they did to Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, holding them to 3 points last week. So if they can keep up the pace after Week 1, the Saints should have no problems with the Carolina Panthers. I think Christian McCaffrey will have a great overall game running and catching, but I don't think enough big plays will happen outside of CMC. And the Saints are one of the best run defenses in the game, so expect CMC to have to work extra hard to get his stats. But I have the Saints getting the victory 31-24, with Jameis Winston playing another great game and Alvin Kamara leading the way running and catching to equal the output of run CMC and give the Saints the victory. Up next, we have the Denver Broncos coming in as 6-point favorites, going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars and number 1 overall pick Trevor Lawrence and rookie head coach Urban Meyer, who looked like a rookie head coach in Week 1, especially in the first half, with multiple turnovers and penalties, and we're down 20 points at halftime. So I don't have much confidence in the Jacksonville Jaguars in this one, especially with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb playing together for the first time in 2 years. I expect Trevor Lawrence to go down a few times and the Jags to have multiple turnovers, while the Broncos offense is looking to replace the loss of his top receiver in Jerry Jeudy, but ran the ball effectively in Week 1 with Melvin Gordon, so I expect them to be able to run the ball and move the ball with play-action passing, and I see the Denver Broncos starting 2-0 with Teddy Bridgewater continuing his solid play, but not great play, but being enough to overcome a strong second half from the Jags and winning this one 30-21. Moving on to the afternoon games, we head to Arizona as the Cardinals take on the Minnesota Vikings, and the Cardinals come in as 3.5-point favorites in a game with both teams looking for a win. And the Cardinals had probably the second most impressive Week 1 with their victory over the Tennessee Titans, as Cliff Kingsbury's play calling looked as good as advertised, and Kyler Murray looked like a QB who is finding his comfort zone in and out the pocket. And when he gets out the pocket, he is one of the best QBs in the game. And with DeAndre Hopkins as his favorite target and the speed that the Cardinals have with the other receivers, this team is going to be hard to stop. And the Vikings, I think, are a team in trouble after getting beat by the Bengals Week 1. I don't see the passing game getting back on track for the Vikings with Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins, and Adam Thielen, because Chandler Jones will be on the loose after his 5-sack performance last week, which will slow down the Vikings passing game, and the Vikings defense was not great last week, and I expect some of the same this week with them giving up big plays, and I expect the Vikings defense to be on the field a lot. But it's the Cardinals defense and the run defense particular that must stop Dalvin Cook, who had a tough Week 1, and I think he will have another tough Week 2 with under 100 yards rushing, and I have the Cardinals winning this game 31-27. Next, we have the defending champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, welcoming the Atlanta Falcons. And what can I say about the Falcons? But they looked horrible in Week 1 on both sides of the ball. The defense couldn't stop anyone, and the offense couldn't move the ball and could barely produce any points. And Matt Ryan looked like he had 16 games left as the Falcons quarterback. And with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks up next, the task only gets harder for the Falcons. And I expect the Tampa Bay Bucks to run up and down the field easy in this one. And despite being 12.5 points favorites, which seems high, But after watching the Falcons, I don't blame Vegas. The Bucs defense will do its job and get sacks and not give up big plays, and I expect both sides of the ball for the Buccaneers looking to put up big stats, and I have the Bucs winning this one easily, 37-21, with Tom Brady leading the way for an easy victory. Moving on to the Dallas Cowboys and the San Diego Chargers, and it's the San Diego Chargers who open up as 3.5-point favorites. And last week, Dak Prescott looked great, and the offense moved the ball effectively, but the run game was non-existent. And I think that they must get back to running the ball with Ezekiel Elliott and play action passing with Dak Prescott, especially with Michael Gallup out, making it only easier to defend the passing game of the Cowboys in their favorite 3-wide receiver set. But it's the Dallas defense that hasn't improved in my opinion. Despite getting multiple turnovers in week 1, they still gave up huge yards in the passing game, so I expect Justin Herbert to put up big numbers and for Keenan Allen to get his 100 yards and for this to be a shootout, but Dallas will run out of bullets before the Chargers because they will prioritize the run and play action passing, unlike the Cowboys who have become one-dimensional, and without a run game, I don't see the Cowboys winning, so I'm taking the Chargers in this one, 34-31. Now, to the last of the afternoon games, we have the Tennessee Titans taking on the Seattle Seahawks, and the Titans come into this game as 6.5-point underdogs and having to ask a lot of questions about themselves after the Week 1 debacle. And if the defense doesn't play better, they are going to get embarrassed again this week by Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf, who offer the same kind of playmaking as the Cardinals did. And if Derrick Henry can't get close to 100 yards, which will be tough against one of the best run defenses in the game will be in Ryan Tannehill's hands, and the Titans look like a team who should have been playing preseason and building chemistry because the passing game was not there week 1 with Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, who couldn't produce much, and the Titans look like a team heading in the wrong direction. And I think the same will continue this week as the defense will not be able to stop Russell Wilson and company, and I expect the Seahawks to put up big stats and come away with the victory 34-24, seeing the Titans to 0-2 and asking a lot of questions going into week 3. Now moving on to the Sunday night game of the week, where we have the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Baltimore Ravens, and this is what a Sunday night game of the week is supposed to look like. And the Chiefs come into this game as 3.5-point favorites, and this matchup is about defense and quarterback play at the end of the day, starting with which former MVP quarterback produces more highlights and improvised plays will most likely be the winner of this game, as both of these offenses are high-powered and produce a lot of big play potential. But the Ravens, as we all know, are banged up and not at full strength, but continue to make plays, and Lamar Jackson's legs continue to carry this franchise. But this is a passing league, and the king of the pass, Patrick Mahomes, is looking unstoppable and will easily put up 30 points again. And Tyreek Hill will get loose for a few big plays, and Travis Kelce will make tough catches underneath, and the Ravens will run all over the Chiefs' struggling run game, but the Chiefs' defense will find a way to come up big in the end. And let's be honest, when you know your offense will get 30 points, it makes playing defense a lot easier. And despite all the heroics of Lamar Jackson, the heart of the Ravens is the defense, and it struggled last week, and I see it being no different this week, with Lamar Jackson just having to overcome too much. And if they get behind early and can't run the ball, I see that only helping the Chiefs' defense and Frank Clark on the D-line, and I don't think the passing game will be able to consistently do it for the Ravens to keep Mahomes off the field. In this game more than ever, I think the Ravens will miss Marcus Peters in pass defense, so I'm going with the Chiefs in this one, 38-27, but expect fireworks all night and Madden video game type action all Sunday night long. Now moving on to the Monday Night Football game of the week, and we have the Detroit Lions, who come in as 11.5-point underdogs facing the Green Bay Packers, a team that didn't even score a touchdown last week and could only produce 3 points. But it's a new week, and like Vegas, I'm expecting Aaron Rodgers to turn back into Aaron Rodgers and produce a special performance after what you could call the worst game of his career and a major letdown for Packer Nation, who was in Super Bowl or bust mode but lost by 35 points opening week. But take on the Lions, who looked pretty bad in the first half, week 1, but rallied to make a game of it in the second half, but still lost in the debut of Jared Goff, who threw for over 300 yards week 1. But if we get the Jared Goff who played in the second half last week this week, this will be an interesting game, but it's the Lions' defense that is the concern, along with Green Bay's defense. And whichever defense comes to play will win this game, and I have more faith in Green Bay's defense over the Lions, and I don't see Aaron Rodgers playing that bad again. So despite Green Bay showing me nothing in week 1, I'm going with the Packers in this one, 31-27, and heading into the right direction going into week 3. So that's all my week 2 picks. So remember to like, comment, subscribe, and remember, I don't know ish about sports, and to make your bets with the BetMGM app, I'm your host, JP Prince, and that's all, folks. Peace.